How's it going, everyone? Westin Means here in the San Francisco Bay Area, here again with your market update for the month of April 2023. As always, we're going into the data for last month, so we're actually looking at the numbers for March 2023. Right off the bat, I can pretty much tell you that at the beginning of the year, things were a lot different. The competition per listing was a lot lower. What happens every pretty much winter starting from the holidays is that people slow down. A lot of buyers go back home for the holidays. They stop their searches, pause their searches, and so demand goes down quite a bit during the last 2 months of the year, and then it bleeds into the first 2 months of the next year. So we saw the same thing this year. The competition per listing was very low. People were getting deals a little bit better than they are now because the competition has started to go up. Buyers are starting to come out of their kind of like winter slump. We're moving into the spring, and usually that means more inventory as well, meaning supply would go up. But this time around, we're actually seeing very low levels of inventory of supply of homes for sale, and that's causing the competition per listing to be very high right now. So as a buyer, it's not incredibly easy to get into a home right now. There are some deals still being made out there. It's a little difficult to get into a home right now because there's so much other competition, but pretty much with anything in real estate, if there is a deal and it makes sense financially for you and your family, it's pretty much never a bad time to buy, unless we're like right before the impending doom of a major financial collapse, which I don't think we are necessarily. I think prices may go down, continue to go down for the rest of the year. So it may make sense to wait a little bit and wait until the summer to see if more inventory comes on the market and then just jump in there. But, the fact is a lot of buyers are probably thinking that same strategy. So even though there may be more for sale in the summer, there may be more buyers that are buying in the summer as well. So you got to think about that. I always say, the holidays, usually there's less inventory for sale, but there's a lot less buyers out in the market. So the winter is a pretty good time to buy usually because the competition per listing is a lot lower. So there's a lot smaller of a chance that you're going to get into a bidding war and have to bid something up, way above list price. But that's pretty much what we're seeing right now in this market is the best homes in the best areas with the best school districts and views and, everything else. They're getting multiple offers in this market. Prices are down from last year, but not by very much, and actually they're starting to rise as we're coming into the spring, and you'll see that as I dive into these counties. So as always, I'm going to go into the 6 counties that I specialize in, those being Alameda, Contra Costa County, Marin County, San Francisco County, San Mateo County, and Santa Clara County. So let's go right into it. In Alameda County, March 2023, we saw the median price of a single family detached home was 1.225, so pretty high there. That's 11.4% higher than last month, so prices are starting to go up, but they're still 14.3% down from last year. So we are seeing prices have come down since last year. It's still kind of like jumping up and down due to problems with supply and demand. If there's not a lot of supply, but there is a high demand, homes are still going to get bid up quite a bit. Now for home sales in Alameda County, we're actually seeing a decrease of 36.8% from last year, and you're going to pretty much see this across the board. There just aren't that many home sales, and it's not because buyers don't want to buy, but there just aren't that many homes for sale in any of these counties. So we saw a decrease of 36.8%. Month to month, from February to March, we actually saw an increase of 52.2% in sales. So it's starting to ramp up as we're getting into the spring. Now, inventory has pretty much been very low since the beginning of the pandemic. It did kind of like spike up a little bit in 2022, and then we had another spike at the beginning of this year, but now it's starting to come down. So we're not seeing a whole lot for sale. The months of unsold inventory in Alameda County for March 2023 was 1.1 months, and that indicates a very strong seller's market. And that's a 45% decrease from the month prior and a 21.4% decrease from last year. So we're seeing a lower level of inventory from last year and last month. The median days on market it took for a single family detached home to sell in Alameda County was 13 days in March, and that is 8.3% higher than January and 62.5% higher than last year. So it is a little bit easier as a buyer to get into homes, but by not that much. You know, last year was just really crazy. Rates were still very low at this time of the year, and there was still quite a bit of competition per listing. Now let's go into Contra Costa County. So for Contra Costa County, the median price of a single family detached home in March was $852,500. So quite a bit lower than the average in Alameda County. That's a 12.2% increase from the month prior and a 11.7% decrease from last year. So that's going along the same pattern that prices have come down from last year because of the rise in interest rates that happened in the middle of last year. Home sales have decreased in Contra Costa County 42.7% from last year, but they have increased 58.6% from the month prior, February. We're just not seeing a lot of sales because there's low inventory. In Contra Costa County, there was 1.2 months of unsold inventory. This is pretty much along the same lines as Alameda County. Strong sellers market. So sellers are doing very well in this market. Buyers are having a little bit of a harder time. And that's 52% down from the month prior and a 0% change from last year. So the inventory is actually pretty much the same as last year. And median days on market was actually 13, so exactly the same as Alameda County, down 27.8% from the month prior and 85.7% higher than last year. So it looks like the days it's taking to sell a listing is going down because more buyers are coming out. There's low levels of inventory, but it's actually taking a lot longer to sell than last year. So last year was even worse for buyers. Okay, now jumping into Marin County. So in Marin County, the median price for a single family detached home was $1.6 million. That's the highest so far. That's a 10.5% increase from the month prior and a 7% decrease from last year. So pretty much along the same lines as the other two. Home sales have decreased 39.4% from last year, and actually they have increased 31.6% from last month. So it looks like things are starting to heat up. This is pretty much what happens every year. January and February are fairly quiet months in terms of real estate sales because, you know, people are coming off of their New Year's kind of slump. It's still the winter. A lot of people don't want to go out and see homes. You know, my clients, I advise them to see homes during the winter because no other buyers really want to. So it presents an opportunity. But this is pretty much what we see every year. Now, unsold inventory in Marin County was 2.3 months. So it's actually a bit higher than Alameda and Contra Costa County. We did see a spike at the beginning of this year. It's coming down, but it was an increase of 109.1% from last year. It looks like inventory in Marin County has been higher this year than it was last year, but it was a decrease of inventory of 4.2% from the month prior. You know, it looks like it's beginning to level off, but it is higher than last year. Now, median time for a listing to sell in Marin County in March was 17 days. So that's higher than the 13 days in Alameda and Contra Costa counties. That's a decrease of 45.9% from the month prior, but an increase of 83.3% from last year. So again, it is quite a bit easier to try to get into a home as a buyer than it was last year, but a month prior, it was significantly easier to get a home and not have to compete. So the competition is beginning to rise. Now, San Francisco County, let's go into that. Median price for a single family detached home in March 2023 was $1.7 million. And that is an increase of 16% from the month prior and a decrease of 17.5% from last year. So we are seeing significant decreases in sale prices from last year. And this is the pattern. And it's because, as we said before, interest rates began to hike up. The Fed began to hike interest rates in June of last year. A lot of buyers pulled back. They didn't want the higher interest rates, and so demand came down. Supply is still very low, but when the interest rates were lower, we're seeing a lot of demand and low supply. But now we're seeing lower demand and still low supply, so it is still a little bit competitive. In terms of home sales went down 37.9% from last year, and then they increased 57.3% from the month prior. You know, more buyers are coming out, more people are going to look for homes, and that is resulting in more sales, but they're still down significantly from last year. Unsold inventory in San Francisco County was 2.4 months for March 2023. That's along the same lines as Marin County. Not quite as bad of an inventory problem as Alameda and Contra Costa County, but it's still indicating a very strong seller's market. And this was a decrease of 29.4% from the month prior and an increase of 50% from last year. So we are actually seeing a little bit more inventory than last year, but they're still quite low in comparison to pre-pandemic levels, which is causing the extreme amount of competition per listing, which still persists into this market. Now, the median time on market that it took for a single family detached home to sell in San Francisco County in March was 15 days. Kind of similar to, actually it's right in between Contra Costa and Alameda and Marin counties. It's not quite as competitive as Alameda and Contra Costa counties, but it's more competitive than Marin County. And that was a decrease of 16.7% from the month prior and an increase of 25% from last year. All right, jumping into San Mateo County, the median price for a single family detached was 1.86 million. That is a decrease of 10.6% from the month prior and a decrease of 18.4% from last year. So this is going along the same lines as the other counties that we've gone into. Sales are down 37.7%. That's pretty much the same as the others. It is an increase of 43.5% from the month prior though. So things are beginning to heat up in San Mateo County. Unsold inventory, there were 1.8 months. This indicates a very strong seller's market, just along the same lines as everywhere else we've gone into so far. It's down 25% from the month prior, and it's up 28.6% from last year. So actually a little more for sale than there was last year. And then the median time for a listing to sell on the market was 11 days. So this is the most competitive county so far that we've looked into. It's down 8.3% from the month prior. The competition has increased 8.3%. That's not incredibly significant. San Mateo is one of those counties that's pretty much always competitive because there are just so many people that want to get into that market. There are a lot of good schools in that county, and it's just a very competitive market. But that median time on market actually went up 57.1% from last year. So it is a bit easier to try to compete and get into a home in San Mateo County than it was last year. Now, lastly, Santa Clara, the median price for a single family detached in March 2023 was 1.7 million. This is the same as San Francisco County. So they're actually exactly the same on the price. It's an increase of 13.3% from the month prior and a decrease of 12.8% from last year. So prices have gone down across the board in all 6 of these counties. Home sales are down 31.9% from last year, but they're up 97.1% from the month prior. So things are definitely beginning to heat up, but there are low levels of sales in comparison to last year. Months of unsold inventory in Santa Clara County was 1.4 in March, pretty much the same as the others. It's a strong seller's market. There's not very much inventory. It is down 51.7% from the month prior, but it's actually a 0% change from last year. So the same level of inventory. And the median days on market it took for a listing to sell in Santa Clara County in March 2023 was 9 days. And that is a 0% change from the month prior and a 28.6% increase from last year. So it is 28.6% easier to try to get into a home in Santa Clara County this year, but it actually didn't change from February, which is kind of surprising, but that's one of the data points here provided by the California Association. And that pretty much does it. You know, as I said, it is a beautiful time to be a seller in this market. Pretty much all of these counties are strong sellers markets at this point. If your home doesn't have too much work to go into it and it's in a good location, you're pretty much going to get a very good price for it. And if it does have a little bit of work, I would recommend getting pre-listing inspections like a home inspection, a pest inspection, maybe a roof inspection, and just provide those upfront to buyers so that they can make their own decisions, and then they can have a little bit of peace of mind with the home up front, and that way they'll be more prone to offer higher on that home. Buyers, I know it's a hard time right now. If you're already approved and you're looking, I would just say stick with it, be persistent. If a deal comes up that makes sense and you run the numbers with your mortgage advisor and you can get it to a number that makes sense for you, a payment that makes sense, it's pretty much never a bad time to buy. But you can also hold off until the summer and see if more inventory comes on the market, and then see if you can have a better time there as a buyer. As always, reach out to me if you have any questions. I'd be happy to help you. I've been in the business for 5 years now. I'm enjoying every bit of it, and I'm always happy to answer all of your questions and help all my clients succeed in this market. So feel free to DM me, text me, call me, email me, whatever you need to do, and I will talk to you soon.